Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Live with Sequoyah Fund. I'm your host, Executive Director of Sequoyah Fund, Russ Siegel. Today, I have with me General and Uta Grant, owners of Traditional Hands Native American Jewelry and Art. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for being on the show with me today.
Jill, and I want to thank you and the Sequoyah Fund for inviting us to take part in the promotion of Native American businesses that's on different reserves and different reservations and so forth. Uh, we've been playing a big part, in our community growth, and it's due to the support of Sequoyah Fund and Eastern Band's travel support. So we like to give credit for that, because without these things, it'd be very hard in order to continue doing what we do.
Well, thank you, General. We're happy to be a part of your business. We're happy to contribute to your success, even in a small way, because we know that the success that you've experienced really has been attributed to your talent. I mean, you are just one of the most unique artists around. You have a local gallery here, but you work in two mediums, I think, that people are going to be interested in. You work in silver. You're one of the foremost silver artists in the world. You also work in wampum. How did you get started working in silver and wampum?
Well, it's a long story, and it takes me quite a few years to get to the point that I am. And I always like to start out, I don't say this in a derogatory way, but I grew up in a white community, so I considered myself of that community. But as I grew older and started pursuing my own identity, I was looking at the spirituality of the Cherokees and the Native philosophy, and I found that wampum was a very, very big and important part, in the Cherokee community. It was part of our culture even before Christianity came to this part of the world. The Creator came as in the form of the peacemaker, and He gave us this wampum in order to govern ourselves so we can live in peace, in harmony with each other. So I found that very interesting, and I love that philosophy, and I apply that to my family and the people that I come in contact with, and it's so much love and interest that a lot of people find the same interest, and they started collecting the wampum. And by collecting wampum, it gives me an opportunity to make a living doing what I love. And with today's technology and the support of Sequoyah Fund to acquire the equipment and the building to enhance this wampum, what I mean by enhance is that way I can cut it, I can shape it, I can polish it, and there's a lot of multiple things that I can do with this wampum to create uh, things of beauty. And most of my customer base is the women or the ladies in the community. And what I mean by that is, the women is our identity. The women are the ones that teaches us how to love and share, care, give, and all of the things that it goes along with the community. So that is where the wampum comes in, and then the silversmith came through uh, my in-laws and my first wife. She was Danae from New Mexico, and her family were silversmiths, and they taught me how to do the silver and a lot of techniques. And so through those two things, I learned how to present and do a lot of things, from my interest. And when I say my interest, is my curiosity. The Creator gave me a brain, and He kind of mixed it up. And what I mean by that is, I don't think in a normal fashion. I'm very dyslexic, and I think on the left side of my brain, which a lot of Native Americans have this condition. And so I always tell people, He made me special. He made me a little bit different. And so, and what you see is how I think, because the things that come from a dyslexic person's hand is only love and talent and compassion, for their culture and their art. And when you look at Native American artwork, that's all you see is nothing but beauty that's shared, through their love and through their hands in order to acquire this. And we have a very large audience that collect our art. And some of the art, runs into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And some of it starts at $4. So it all depends on where you see yourself and what you want to exhibit through your collection is a help to the Native American culture, to the Native American art. So I have a very, very big respect. I have a very big love. I have a very big compassion for my identity, who I am, the way I was born, and what I have to offer to the world. So I want to thank you for that question.
Well, General, I think you hit on a couple of things that I want to expand on. Number one is you mentioned you're dyslexic, and when we talk to folks about starting businesses and putting their art into the world and turning that art into a business, making a living with that, some people are fearful because they've been told all their lives that they have this or that disability or different ability or something that is going to hinder their success. But you've really turned that around and you've turned it into a positive because you brought that out in your art. And that's amazing. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about, because we hear this all the time, you have implemented some automation, some machinery, some technology into this business. Now, the name of your business is Traditional Hands. Some artists, let's be honest, feel like they're selling out if they use machinery or automation to help create the things that they create. How do you reconcile the use of modern technology with the traditional methods and doing the art that has been around for centuries?
Well, I find this very damaging, in the Indian community. Whenever they say there's a traditional way of doing it, and then there's a commercial way of doing it. And given the very first contact with this wampum, which was a stick, a hard stick, and sand and water in order to acquire this hole in this particular piece of shell. And that is what they call the traditional way. And it takes a long time in order to do this, And you're looking back in the past and at the contact with the Europeans, they seen that let me give you a little example. There, the Cherokees acquired the wampum from up in New England area, and which is I like to recognize the Narragansett, and that's where we've got a lot of our shells. So there was a delegation from Cherokee that went there, and to acquire these beads. That's what their journey was, because we needed these beads for the growth of the community and the expansion of problems and expansion of ideas. And so through the acquiring of these beads is through trade. And so when the Cherokees went there, they took a lot of items that they had that was accumulated here in this community to take there for trade. And through this delegation, there was a lot of people carrying a lot of merchandise. And so when they got there and they were going to make the trade, and if they were on time, they got a good portion of beads. If they got there late and somebody else beat them, then they got a small portion of the beads. And so when the Europeans seen them making this trade, they would give all of this items that they took there, and they only got a handful of beads. And the Europeans said, "Man, look what they got just for that handful of beads." They traded all of this stuff, but they didn't really understand what was really happening. Where we came from, everything that we took there was very plentiful, and so we didn't want to carry it home. I'm a simple logic, we didn't want to carry this all the way back because it wasn't worth what we were acquiring. It was something that when we go home, we could just gather it again. And so the Europeans thought, well, that's worth a lot of money. So then they started making their own beads, through machinery and an equipment. And then they started trading it to the native people to acquire a lot of things. And so that's where Manhattan was bought. This island was bought from a handful of beads. I mean, so I guess everybody knows that. So these beads did play a very big part in our culture. So now with modern technology, it allows me to do those very same beads with with the same value. And so whenever you load a bead or you put something in that bead, that's like a tape recorder. It never changes. It's always in that. And it's like when the Cherokees did the peace treaty, with Andrew Jackson. All of the things that's in that treaty in Washington D.C. that's wrote in English is the very same thing that's put in this beads in this wampum belt. So our history is still the same as long as we have that wampum belt. It will always be the same, among the Cherokees. So that's how come wampum is very, very spiritual, cultural, and historical in our community. So you're going to have to re-edit that. You have to keep me. You have to keep me online because I get way off the left field.
No, that's okay. Again, this is a conversation,
Yeah.
so what you're saying is technology has always been a part of making the wampum, but it's just the modern technology that is different.
Yes, it is. And also too, it's involvement. I mean, evolving,
Yeah,
evolution.
that's what I would say.
Yeah,
You know,
evolution. Man has always
life
Right.
evolves.
found an easier way to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is
You
it's
know,
interesting.
cell phones are not traditional either, but everybody's got them, and you do, and certain things you have to do in order to be still part of society, and humanity evolves. And if you want to be part of the group, there are certain things you have to
Adapt to.
yeah,
Yes.
and go with, even if you dislike it, like bank cards or something like that, or have a bank account, or have a computer, or have a phone. And so you can, you know, and from my perspective, I'm originally from Germany. I come into the native community from the outside with a different point of view on it. And what I learned is that they always traditionally were really open to new things, to see what do you have? Yeah, how can I make my life easier? And how can I make my life better? And interested in trading and in other cultures. So that is part of the original culture.
So Uta, now that you have moved back into the frame and joined the conversation, thank you. I want to talk a little bit about your contribution to this business, because we've talked a little bit about, you mentioned social media, you mentioned some modern technology, and I know that people sometimes have a love-hate relationship with social media. You are doing an amazing job with your social media in terms of inviting. It's a very inviting culture that you're creating on your social media, bringing people into your shop, inviting them to come in and be a part of that story that General was just telling. And you also have been a big part of reaching out globally. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about how the German culture accepts and desires Native American art and things like that.
Well, thank you very much. And growing up in Germany, I wasn't aware that Germans seems to be famous. At least a lot of the natives know that Germans know a lot about Indian culture, sometimes more than some Americans do. And I'm not exactly sure why, but right now I just take it as a fact that Germans, for whatever reason, are close to the Native American culture. And so when I came here, I did have like a slightly basic idea, or knowledge about it. But I didn't know anything about wampum. But what Germans are famous for is a sense for quality. And I think this is a big part where I see myself as a real contribution to what General does. General is such a, like you just heard, you know, he's just a wealth of information, and the way he can talk about the culture, it's just a pleasure to listen to him. Yeah, but he also shared that he's dyslexic. So with my ability, what I learned, I went to school, and I'm the thinker in that perspective. I can do the writing, and I can do the technical things and the social media on the computer. And so in that way, I'm the executive branch, if you will. Yeah. General got the software and the cultural understanding, and he's got the vision and the understanding about it. And then I help to make it available to the public. And I also know that through me being not just being white from Germany, it makes it easier for people. It is as if I open the door to native culture, because so many people, they are looking for this spiritual aspect of native culture, because in our society, the way I grew up, it basically doesn't exist no more. The traditional ways of understanding of life and the philosophy. And so people are looking for something, for a deeper understanding, for something with meaning. But to approach indigenous people, sometimes it can be intimidating. And I'm white like them, so I come from the outside as well. But I found myself in the native philosophy, and with the store that I'm presenting here in Cherokee, so it makes it easier for people to get their foot in the door, if you will. Yeah.
So you are bringing this into the modern world. You're bringing this to people who may not be familiar with wampum. You're bringing your art to people who have a concept of what silver jewelry looks like, but they don't have a concept maybe of what Native American design looks like. What does the future look like for your art, General? And this is really a question for you. You know, we see a lot of intergenerational teaching going on in other art forms with basketry, with carving and pottery. What does this look like for wampum? Who are you teaching? What does your art look like generations from now? Not just here, but all across the country.
Now, that is a very good question, and it's a very wide spectrum. And what I'm
Another hour of talking.
yes.
Uh-huh.
So my son is dyslexic, and he's following in my footsteps. He does very clean work, and he does very healthy work, and he does a multi-medium, and he's a he's part Cherokee, he's part Sioux, and he's part Navajo. So he's multicultural and multi-talented. And so with his talent and his ability and his dyslexic, he is going to be very well recognized in the Native American community, and also in the Cherokee community. There's very few Cherokees that actually pursue this lifestyle. And now, as far as the wampum, I have a lot of young people that's following in my footsteps of different tribes, on the East Coast. So there's a lot of young artists coming along with a lot of different medium and different presentations. So when I say presentation, they use only the shell, and their mind is so crisp and so talented that I love the way that they think. I love the way that they act, and I love their presentation because it really stimulates my growth, because mine is a totally different medium. And to see another person, with that same caliber of talent in a totally different fashion is mind blowing. And when I look at the future, there's a big, humongous future and a place for the native people and their art. They just have to find the talent. They have to find the commitment, and they have to find that support system in order to help them grow, to help them find their place, you know. And I wanna share something. My son has a stepson that is 12 years old. He has 5 different conditions that the school has labeled him in a sense, you know. And one
Like
of the like the
ADHD and
ADHD, you know.
something like
I built a school for the ADHD kids, but I had a problem, you know, with the tribal council accepting that, so I just put that on the back burner. I just said I'm not going to spend my time and my energy trying to force somebody to think outside of their normal to understand somebody that's in a totally different world of dyslexia. So I just said, okay, I'm not going to do it. But this young kid, he's 12 years old. He's done 3 pieces of silver. His first was a pendant that his stepdad helped him work, and it was beautiful. Then his second piece was another pendant that he did, and he broke the stone, which was very clean and talented. And then his third piece was a ring that he completely did by himself, and that is on a professional level. You know, it's clean, it's healthy, it's strong, and I'm really proud of this individual. I mean, given a little bit more time and patience with him. When I say time and patience, you know, he has an attention span that he'll work and then he'll go play or he'll want to go fishing, but he'll want to do all of these other things. But we just took the time to allow him to work at his own pace and show his creative juices. And you would never think that a child, you know, would be able to do this. And he is one of those special people. And I know the Cherokee community has a lot of kids with that same influence. When I say influence, is they need that special attention. And we don't treat them special. You know, we just
Yeah.
invite them into a world that we're living in.
Well, and it sounds like through art, uh, some of those strengths that the world sees as weaknesses can be brought out.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I wanted to mention, because you asked about the ADHD and the dyslexia. So I think General and me, we are a really good example. Like he says, he has the dogma, or how you say it, you know, the stigma of being dyslexic, and
The label.
the label, and I went through all the high schools. Yeah, I didn't went to college, but I have a high school education, and I run into problems so many times. Yeah, and General is the one. He is able to totally think out of the box, and I see it in his son as well. They have the ability to think in a way, in an artistic way, and also in a technical way that I could never follow. I feel dumb many times because they can um, create things that it's just mind-boggling sometimes. Yeah.
One man's junk is another man's
Yeah.
treasure.
So I wanted to encourage, whenever somebody is listening to this, yeah, and has a problem with dyslexia or whatever it is, in whatever box they might be put, yeah. To me, it's a gift. It's a challenge to find your way in the society we are living in. But if you are able to turn it around, and you have a gift that sets you apart from the whole mass of other people.
Now there's a whole topic about dyslexic and ADHD and things that could be utilized too, because you know a
Hmm.
lot of times a young person with a dyslexic ADHD doesn't have any support because it's lack of understanding.
Yeah.
And through lack of understanding, they just say, well, it won't work because they can't comprehend what I'm trying to teach them. But we already know in a different fashion.
Right.
Mhm.
I have a friend who coined the term flossom. He says it's our flaws that make us awesome. And I think you exhibit that. I think you embody that.
Yes.
And I think the way you two work together as a team to make your business a success is really amazing. We see partnerships that are spouses, that are friends, that are siblings, that don't work as well as the one that we've seen with yours. And so I congratulate you on that. It has been really amazing to watch you two build this business together. But it's been a difficult time. This year has just been an unusual time that we may never see again in our lifetimes, I hope.
I hope so.
But you have found a way through the lockdown, through the restrictions, through the downturn in the business. You found a way to turn things around and take advantage of some opportunities. And I want to ask you about the opportunities that you found, and it's not in Wampum.
That's right.
That's right. See, whenever we started the business that we're involved in now, we committed ourselves 100% into the business. And so we made a commitment to borrow a certain amount of money in order to make it blossom, which it did. And it was growing with leaps and bounds. And we were able to fulfill our obligations. And what that means is we were able to pay our bills. And we did things on a large scale. And then when this pandemic came along, all of that was erased. It's taken away from us. And so in the beginning, we had a really hard time. But the Cherokee Eastern Band, they had a little bit of financing through Sequoyah Fund and through the reimbursement through the tax levy and through other programs that we were able to follow through and keep our finances above water and no trouble. And then in my mind, I knew the future held a strong obstacle that's going to be placed in front of us. So, and I said, and then I looked at what was going on, and everybody was buying up the hand sanitizer, and they were selling it and doing all kinds of price gouging and so forth. And the Cherokee just couldn't get it. It was not available, non-available here in the Cherokee community. So last year in 2019, I went to the tribal council and I asked them if I could make ethanol. And through the meeting with the tribal council, they gave me the permission to go ahead and do that. They said, just go ahead as long as you don't make spirits. And so through that permission to do that, then I decided, okay, I will go ahead and make the hand sanitizer. And if I make the hand sanitizer, then I can pay my bills. I can meet my obligations, And I shared that, on Facebook, and people from all around, they said, I'll do this. I want this, this tribe needs this tribe needs that, and I might add that I'm in a relationship with all the different tribes, across east of the Mississippi, because I do shows there. I've met the elders, I've met the tribal council, I've met the chiefs, I met all of the people, in these communities through some of the programs that I've done. So it has opened a large amount of curiosity and needs. And so through that, me and my brain, which got me in trouble. So
Again.
And what I mean by that is I was just going to do a small amount and do it in this fashion. So the pencil got me in trouble. And what I mean that is I decided I would double or triple what I was actually geared up to do. So my building grew, my business grew in a sense. So at a point that I got in a financial bind. And with this bind and the money that I was spending, then I started looking for different avenues in order to fund this. And I thought about selling shares, and I tried the GoFundMe, and then I tried to sell a portion of it to the Eastern Band. And that's where this business plan came from, the tribal office, because I needed some help. But then we filed for another business loan, and this business loan came through, so it gave us enough money to get by, to make it actually happen. But
To start it. Yeah.
we're still not out of the woods yet. But my philosophy or my understanding about hand sanitizer is, what do we have? And what we actually have is a place where people come from a large part of the world. They come all to the Great Smoky Mountains. They come to this place from various countries, various cities, various states, and we don't know what they're bringing with them. And then also too, we have the casino, and with the casino, we have gamblers that travels a whole gambling circuit, and I don't know what they're bringing into the community. So by thinking in this fashion, it opened the door to a whole new market, whether that materializes or not, here in Cherokee. And what I mean by that is, if we can, when I say we, that's my wife and I, and the people that's involved in this hand sanitizing business. If we can keep the casino healthy, it keeps the Cherokee people healthy. If we can keep the motels healthy, it keeps the Cherokee people healthy. If we can keep the tribal Cherokee tribal businesses healthy, it keeps the Cherokees healthy. If we can keep the hospital healthy, it keeps the people healthy. So the hand sanitizer is one of the biggest assets to any community in the world. And I just say that on a small scale because, there's only 15,000 of us here. But if my business or this new business can take care of this group of people, and everybody in the world did this very same thing, we would get rid of this pandemic rather than blaming so and so and another. If we put our jealousies aside, we put our insecurities aside, and we all come together, which that wampum says, we come together as a group of people to work together to keep the tribe healthy, then we're all going to be healthy. But as long as we have an obstacle or we have sand that we throw into the machinery, it's going to be a bigger struggle. The strong will survive. And when I say the strong is the one that commits to certain criteria like washing your hand, social distancing, and all of these things. That's the strong, the one that commits to that. Thank you.
And thank you. I think that is just the perfect words of wisdom to end on. I did want to give you an opportunity before we finish up today to tell folks how to get in touch with you, how to contact you, how to get to your shop. Anybody out there who wants to take a look at your amazing art or to buy your amazing art, we want to make sure that they can get to you. How can they do that?
Yes.
So the name of the shop and the business is Traditional Hands Jewelry and Art Corporation, but Traditional Hands is the name doing business as. And we are downtown Cherokee. The store location is right next to the Subway, the sandwich store, Subway, and at the Fort Tomahawk, just a mile from the casino on that stretch. And our phone number is 828-554-5884. And we also have a website, which is traditionalhands.com. You can see a small selection of our collection. And it would be definitely better to visit our store. We have a really wide selection of beautiful jewelry, not just wampum, but also turquoise and lapis and onyx and opal, a lot of different stones, and other artwork as well, like paintings and sculptures and
collectible art.
Absolutely, what makes a home pretty, and it definitely speaks to you because we get it from other artists as well. Yeah, and whenever something is handmade, you always get a part of the artist's heart and cultural understanding and background with it. So everything has a story in there.
Well, thank
And
you for sharing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, General.
the website for the hand sanitizer.
Yeah, the new business is Cherokee Hand Sanitizer, and there's also a website, CherokeeHandSanitizer.com, which
Get that,
doesn't have nothing on it yet, but because we are still
get that label right quick. I want to show. I want to show something.
I don't have it, General. I don't have it to show.
Oh.
I don't have it. Sorry.
I was
So-
going to show the label. We got the label. We're about 90% complete, ready to manufacture, produce. We had to do our label. We were doing the whole 9 yards when it comes to doing this. And this is our logo for the hand sanitizer.
This Cherokee Hand Sanitizer. Yeah. Cherokee Hand Sanitizer. Look out for it.
Well, thank you. We absolutely will. We go through a lot of hand sanitizer at the office, and I know that as businesses begin to open up, as there's talk about what to do with schools and so forth, there's going to be a lot of need for that. So I congratulate you on seizing that opportunity and just keeping your eyes open and your head on a swivel to be able to find those opportunities. And so you've had traditional hands for a long time now. You have some clean hands, and
Yes.
thank
Yes. Yeah.
Thank
I
you
also
so
wanna
much.
mention
Yeah,
one more thing, that we do have safety measures in our store. Yeah, for all the visitors who come into the store and the customers, so that you can feel safe.
Yes.
we certainly want them to come in. We certainly want them to buy, and we certainly want things to get back to normal just as quickly as possible. Thank you so much to the two of you for being on our broadcast today, and we look forward to many more years of being able to work with you and see just continued success.
We thank you very much. Thank you for this time.
Thank you for all your support, in this opportunity, and hello to everybody who's listening. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
everyone. That's it for our broadcast today, and we want to thank you for joining us on Live with Sequoyah Fund. Until next time.